Moin from Hamburg. I'm Walter Matthias Kunze, and this is time for the daily Trend Talk. It's Monday, the 3rd of August 2020, and we are in Hamburg having a kind of sunny start of the week. I hope you're well too. I hope you had also a sunny day, inside or outside, whatever. And well, how are your expectations for the healthcare market? Because that's the topic for now. We're talking about what's happening in future with the need for medical devices and how these markets are growing, also shifting globally. My guest is Fabian Temme. He's the founder of Medical Cooling, originally a German company, but he also founded in the UK and in the USA. Why did he do that? Well, that's a question we will be talking about. Also, we talk about the differences in founding companies as a startup in Germany and in other countries, just like in the West or in the East, in Asia or China. Might become very interesting because we had some preparational talk about this, so that's what I can say. But I don't want to give you any spoilers, just like be surprised. Should you yourself have questions on these topics, if you want to know how the markets are evolving, and you should have questions how to enter the German market, for instance, or the European market, or how to reach out to this or this target group, get in touch. We have you, we have the data, and we do the research so that you have the advantage on the market and so that you will be able to plan your future in a safe way for the next steps, because future always starts now, in the here and now. And now I'd say let's talk to Fabian. Let's see what he has to tell us, what his experiences have been and will be, and afterwards we can continue in talking about and discussing what next will come in trends and in economical shifts. So, happy to have Fabian Temme now as my guest. Okay, I'm very happy to have Fabian Temme from Germany now here as our guest at the Daily Trend Talk. Fabian is the founder of Medical Cooling. And what I'd say just before I tell too much, Fabian, it's your stage. Please tell us what exactly are you doing, what's Medical Cooling doing, and what's your business?
We developed a medical ventilator that's able to double the chance of survival post-resuscitation. We use liquid oxygen, we warm it with ambient air to give it to the patient to inhale. And if the patient inhales cold air, the brain is getting cooled, and there's the slowdown into metabolism, which is reducing the brain damage. And we could make some animal trials at the UKE Hamburg-Effendorf, where we also could show that stroke sizes in pigs are reduced, but we don't have human data yet to back up the claim. And right now we have to raise new funds to get the serial production going and to get the certification process done.
Cool. So, liquid oxygen. Why would I need liquid oxygen? What's the advantage of this? I'm not an expert in that. You're the expert, but please.
Liquid oxygen is really small and compact. You've got if you 900 liters gas oxygen and 1 liter liquid oxygen.
Okay.
And so you can make a really small system, and because the liquid oxygen is really, really cold, you have the code that we are looking for anyway from the liquid oxygen. So you can make a really small design of the device because you've got lots of oxygen, lots of cold in a small space, which is really comfortable if you go into an ambulance. And the good thing is liquid oxygen is widely available and it's really cheap. So you've got an affordable solution. And you don't need the power outlet because you have got the cold and the oxygen anyway, which brings a lot of energy in the system.
Okay, so just in the case of emergency, there has been an accident and somehow a person needs a kind of ventilation, or for what is it?
Yeah, the sure indication where it's in the guidelines established is post-cardiac arrest. if your heart stops beating and you get resuscitation and it's successful, you want to cool the brain. And our method of cooling could already start while the resuscitation happening. And then if you get to the hospital and there's a long discussion, if you cool for 12, 24, 48 hours, you've got a big reduction in brain damage and you survive twice as often. NNT is 6, so 1 in 6 patients survives extra if you cool them. In Germany right now, 23% of the patients get this treatment in a hospital. I think in an ambulance, it's far less, close to 0. So there's a big opportunity to save some people. In Germany, there would be 45 people that could live every day again and that their life could be saved.
So these are the numbers in Germany. So where's the trend generally? And where's the trend? Where's the advantage? The trend?
The NNT is in general 6. If you look to a normal healthcare system like the US or Europe, you have an average survival rate between 8 and 10%. Of course, you've got these high level healthcare systems like Taiwan, where you've got 30% survival of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests. But in general, you can say before 6% survive and or 10% survive, and if you cool them, you get up to 23, 24, 25% of survival. So you've got like 2.5-fold of the survival rate. But double sounds better and it's easier to understand.
Okay. So one would say, one would think about, well, that's something that's not really new. So why is it new that you do this? What's the innovation there? What's the trend?
Actually, I figured out a couple of weeks ago that it's even older than I thought. I knew there was literature from one around Christ, but there's also 3,500-year-old documents from papyrus that suggest cooling. So yes, it's new, but we made it usable for ambulance staff, that they have an easy solution that integrated in their workflow that they can actually use it in an ambulance. The theory behind it is a couple of thousand years old, but by now, Hippocrates was the first one I know. Papyrus was the oldest one that ever mentioned it, so far as I know. But we make it usable that the ambulance staff actually is able to cool the patient in a decent way without time loss.
Well, so you say the theory that's a couple of thousand years old, and now really I must ask this because I know that some of the viewers will ask the same question. So that's that old, and now you're the first company to use this and an ambulance. And
no, we're not the companies that do cooling in ambulance. Like this year, 2 of the more established players gave up, EM Cools and Quick Cools from Sweden, EM Cools from Austria. But the issue is you need in an ambulance a user-friendly solution that doesn't take much time, doesn't take much space, and that's just working. And I've seen in the competitors that they have some usability issues. And what's really special is that we do not add a new device in ambulance. We replace the classic ventilator. And because of user iteration rounds, we also integrated the ECG with defibrillator to have one central unit in the ambulance, which makes it much more handy and which is helping the paramedics to get easier to the emergency setting. And we did lots of usability work and iteration rounds with the staff that actually use the device. Usability is the key that something is getting used.
So Fabian, well, of course, we're both German and we do this for an international audience. What I'm quite often hearing is that people are saying, well, okay, things are working, and then the Germans came and made it even better. Because we are maybe kind of perfectionists, but maybe, well, we're not one of the only perfectionists in the world, I wouldn't say that. If you look at Tesla, for instance, who are way advanced in many spaces to German cars. Sorry, Volkswagen, sorry, Mercedes, you got to do with that. Okay, aside. But no, you did this. You said, okay, that's cool, it's needed, but we make it better. So at what stage of the company are you right now? You're the founder. You're kind of, I think you're a startup.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. And so you, as far as I know, you started in 2019.
Yeah.
In Germany.
No, we incorporated in the US and UK because in Germany we couldn't find any investors that would consider to invest. We spoke to lots of investors from the UK. We spoke with lots of investors from the US. Right now, we basically focus to get investments from Asia, because hardware, especially Medtech hardware, is a really niche market in the investment sphere, because it's not software as a service. We've got a real product, and we've got a long time until we make revenue, and we need some invest before we have first customers. So we do not fit into the standard metric where you say you start a product, program it yourself, put it online, and then you've got like 5,000 customers, 100 paying customers, and this is the metrics that most VCs are looking for, and this is why we have such a hard time to get investment, because until we've got paid users, we need to get to clinical trials, and we need $1 million investment.
Okay, so Medtech hardware. So we could say who's getting faster investments are those who can't do Medtech software, so to say?
Yeah. Digital health is something people are looking for, especially software as a service, with what is crucial, and there is lots of initiatives for digital health, but there are hardly any for Medtech. And especially emergency Medtech for ambulances, there is hardly anything for it, because if you do Medtech, they mostly are focused on hospitals, which makes some sense because they know now the reimbursement situation, which is in almost any country a nightmare.
Let me write this down. Software as a service. Do you have any idea why this has been so difficult in Germany to do this?
Again, please.
Do you have an idea? What are your thoughts about and your experiences why this would have been that difficult in Germany?
The German people are not that rich as people think. And not that many people have a couple of million cash on the banks that they can put in high-risk investments. And Germans get taught all the time to avoid risk. And of course, such an endeavor has high risks and a high probability that there are some delays coming up, that it might get more expensive. For example, nobody knows what happens with the NDR. They did a new regulatory in the European Union for Medtech, which is a nightmare for the whole industry. And of course, all these factors leads to the decision by the investors that they rather invest in some software or some app than to invest in Medtech, where it takes a long time till they get the money back and where high risks are involved.
But German investors, well, I think this is quite interesting, also quite good information also for other startups. So sounds like that German investors are kind of less less open to taking risks and also to put more money into the pot.
Yeah, many investors we talk to want to invest maybe like 50 or 100,000 and want big shares. And just to get to the place where the startup can make revenue, we need 3 million, and you can imagine that there's nothing left in case we take these offers. It's just a too low budget game.
3 million. Sure. Yeah. I see that maybe what I see is here also we do a lot of consultancy for startups, and our experience is, I must say, the same. So that they, many of the companies or the investors are saying, well, couldn't you just make a functional model and then we see how this could be sold or whatever? It's a little bit pity. So, but your journey has been, as far as I know, as far as I see, even regarding our prep talk, you also went to USA. You did your founding there. You went to investors in USA.
You don't have to be in the US to start up companies there. You can just do it with like 5 minutes on a computer and a credit card.
Oh wait, no way. So just like that.
It's not like you imagine from Germany that you go to the notary office, they've got some questions, you go back to the notary office, you get tour, and then a couple of months later, you get to the Chamber of Commerce, get registered by court. The system there is much different. You just go to your registering agent, and they set up the company for you, and you pay for the US 160 for a C Corp. If you go to the UK, it's much cheaper. You can still get the companies there. If you rent your office for like $30, including an office for 1 year, if you want a premium package with all the stuff and send it to you by mail, it's 200, but it's far cheaper than in Germany, where you pay for an UG maybe like 1,000, including all costs.
Many questions, Fabian. First, I think so. You have a kind of representative there. Let's say it's just a kind of co-working office, whatever, and you rent an address, and that's all.
You don't even have a co-working office there. You just have a registered agent that's just there to deal with your company shares, and that's basically a cheap version of a notary office.
Okay, and next question is, you're paying taxes in USA and Britain, right?
Yeah, in the US, I would have to pay the Delaware franchise tax, and in the UK, you have to pay also taxes, of course, if you have to revenue. But in the UK, you don't have to pay, like here, taxes if you don't have revenue. In the US, you pay the Delaware franchise tax no matter if you forgot any revenue or not.
Awesome.
It depends on the shares.
No tax. Okay, so now maybe our German government has to not listen. So no tax paying in Germany on that, or also taxes in Germany?
No tax paying if there's no revenue, because there's nothing not much happening at the companies yet. So
yeah, okay, awesome, interesting. And then okay, and then your journey went on. Now you also got contact. You are in contact with other countries also who are interested in supporting you.
Yeah, we've been a couple of times to the Netherlands, to France. We've been at Startup Prague in Portugal. We are all over the European Union and in most places in Asia and the US. And there's a huge difference within the European Union, especially when it comes to mentality. But if it comes to a streamed, well-organized startup process, I think the UK is still ahead, and we have a big loss when they leave the European Union, because it's just that simple and worked really well. And in Germany, to start a company is pretty much a nightmare, and especially if you want to have many shareholders, and if you go into crowdsourcing, I think it's almost possible to do it in a decent, law-confirmed way with a German company, because it's just so complicated.
Okay.
And in Germany, you have the big issue. I have to move with my family out of Germany before I start a company abroad, because if I start a company abroad and I still live in Germany, I have to pay the Wegzugbesteuerung, which is a critical point for everyone to know, that you have got these economic food chains which kill a lot of companies.
Oh, wait. Sorry, I didn't understand that. No, you're living in Germany, but why would you have to move out of Germany?
Because many investors want the company there when they put the money in. And if I start the company before I move there, I've got a big issue with the Wegzugbesteuerung, which is a huge issue in Germany, because then you have to pay taxes as if you would have sold the company.
Oh, okay.
Which takes most of the capital of the company away, which screws up lots of companies. Because if you can't make your company work in Germany, basically, I think the ideas behind it to not getting worked anywhere else.
Okay. Did you, well, two questions. How about Scandinavia? How was the founding of a company there? Did you also do research in that direction?
Yeah, there's Neurocolor from Denmark, which is highly supported, but I think they will not make it for a long time. And there has been QuickCool from Sweden and BrainCool from Sweden. And I think BrainCool from Sweden is in the ambulance, actually, even right now, the market leader in the cooling area.
Okay. And about, yeah, I meant about founding a startup in Scandinavia.
I haven't got that too involved, because if they already have a competitor, they push forward.
Okay, I see. Sure. Your competitors are there in Scandinavia, so you're coming there and say, hey, I'm the new competitor from Germany.
Yeah, it's nothing they appreciate that much.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And Asia, at least. You also said that there are some, it's cheaper, better to found, easier to find, to found a company in Hong Kong, in China, or in Singapore?
I think right now it's a battle between Hong Kong and Singapore, where it might be easier and that give you a better welcome package if you get there. And of course, you've got countries like Taiwan that are really into it. And even China is doing high efforts to get companies there. Like I was invited there in December the last time and had a trip there where I was at a contest, and the prize finals are there much nicer because there you could almost win 10 million US dollars in case you won the competition. And here in Germany, it's like 5,000, 10,000, which is not getting you much ahead. If you see there, you can win a contest with 10 million US. It pushes the company on the next level. This is crucial for a company. If it's like 500 euros, it's nice. It helps to pay some costs, but it doesn't push you much further.
Okay, I see. Okay, well, so Fabian, thanks for the background information on founding in Germany and abroad. I think this is a very rich, very valuable information also for the people watching this.
Yeah.
By the way, if you should have any questions while you watch this, questions to Fabian or to us, ask him. We put his contact link, his LinkedIn contact in the description of this video. So if you want to know more, get in contact with him. But most of now, if you want to invest in a company, also do that. Yeah. So now to your company, and so we have a little bit the rhythm, the kind of structure of the daily Trendtalk is how did you work yesterday, or how are you working now during Corona crisis times, and also during the kind of economic turmoil, and how are your plans or expectations to work, let's say in the future, let's say in a year or in 5 years. So as I see all these experiences with founding and all that stuff, they are kind of from yesterday now. So now we're in today, and China, of course, and also Asia is in a big competition with the Western world, as we see. Also, China's building up their own internet kind of competitors to the American internet. How stable? That's what I'm thinking. How stable do you think would the Chinese investment, or even the Hong Kong investment, which is kind of also more and more just like out of China? How stable would an investment be if you should do that?
I think if it's really signed, if it's on the bank account, it's fine. For me, I personally made the experience. What matters is what's going into the bank account. Because even now, I had lots of discussion with people that told me it worked out, and then last minute there was like some completely issue. And I even had some experience with one area in Germany where I had it all written in paper. I got the grant with all the paperwork done, and they just said, it doesn't matter to us, you're screwed. So I figured out at the end of the day, I think it's reliable if it's in a bank account. And then you have to see how many shares there are and who it is at the end of the day.
Sure.
But I think an individual, if they put in the money, it doesn't matter much if they're from Hong Kong or if they're from Germany or if they're from the US.
So just in case someone says, okay, we give you 3 million or 8 million US dollars, for instance, how many shares would you be willing to give away?
For 3 million, I would give away 30% of the shares. Which is, I think, a decent deal if you see that this can push the company until the revenue stage, and with production and certification that actually customers can over and that the company can create revenue then. And so far, 1.2 million is invested, plus lots and lots and lots of unpaid time.
Sure. As I see, well, the Medtech market, I think it's a growing market as far as I see. Because the health issues, be it Corona, be it we just saw due to the Corona crisis how hospitals kind of suddenly lacked of medical equipment and so on and so on. And just like that, Tesla said now we're producing ventilators or whatever, or they would like to produce them. And so there is a need, and there is an open market.
The market is not that open because the governments really buy with political purpose. Like in Germany, they order just from 2 companies. There's a third big company from Hamburg called Weinmann, which didn't get any orders by the government somehow. And nobody knows how they got these orders, because there haven't been any tendering, or that there have been 10 million for Ernst & Young for the mask purchase. That might have been better invested if they would go to the medical wholesaler that knows the whole supply chain. And I think we've seen there are lots of political caused market troubles and many things that could have managed way better if they would just have stick with established chains, because they are working supply chains, and these people in the supply chains know each other, and you've got trusted networks that deliver quality. And now if you just try to go around it, they bought many crap that is unusable. And I think it would have been way better to just give enough money to the hospitals that they can do the procurement through their established pipelines.
Well, Fabian, that doesn't really sound like it's wise to found your company or to build up your company in Germany.
Yeah, we made the experience, and it might be one of the biggest mistakes to stick so long in Germany.
So if an investor is coming from abroad, be it the USA, be it UK, be it whatever, Hong Kong or so,
yeah.
And so would you be willing to move there?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I told you before. I would just move first, then start a new company to avoid lots of legal and tax issues. So this is one of the things people from outside don't understand, because they don't have a Wegzugsbesteuerung. But you first have to move there, then to start a new company, which is crucial.
Yeah. Okay, so that's nowadays. Did you think? Do you think there is any influence for a market due to Corona crisis? I expected. I think from my side, kind of the side of the markets, but maybe you have other experiences. What's your expectation for the market right now?
I think the market needs to be cleared up, and then it will be interesting if there's ever this fraud and these big orders without tenders are getting questioned. And for the ventilator market, the good thing is they just have basically ordered hospital ventilators, so the emergency ventilator market is not that affected. But I think many countries will have enough ventilators for the next 10 to 15 years. So I think the hospital ventilator market might be really dead next year.
Why that?
The market for hospital ventilators, because there was these huge orders, and then they get delivered and nobody knows what to do with them. And so if someone breaks, they've got lots and lots in storage.
Well, so where is your business then?
We do emergency ventilators, which is a tough business, but in case we ever manage to get in there, you can make some profit. And the big issue many investors see, it's just a €1 billion market yearly.
Okay.
You've got 400,000 ambulances. I don't think it will be getting that much more. So I think maybe you've got an increase of like 5% each year. And the ventilators get replaced like every 5 years. So you've got like every 5 years, 80,000 ventilators that are getting sold in this market. And you can make $1 billion with it each year, but this is it.
Very interesting. Fabian, I'm having really many more questions, but I see that our time is limited. And so let's think. So the point is at least that as soon as you have your investors and your kind of growth partners, then you could utilize your patent. You have your own patent on that thing.
It's not granted yet, but this is also another 10,000 euros I have to pay to the lawyer to get it all through and granted. We've got the feedback by PCT. We prolonged it in a couple of countries, like the US, the European Union, and then we have to pay more money to the lawyers that it finally gets granted. It's just a really costly process.
Sounds quite complicated, a little bit, but also
it's more expensive than complicated.
Okay.
It's more kind of money issue.
What would you think if you're having a little bit an outlook for the next, let's say, 2, 3, 5 years to this market, to the medtech market in general? What's your expectations there? What are your expectations?
I think we will see a huge automation and artificial intelligence, because it just makes much sense, and it can reduce errors and can help a lot with diagnostics. And I think it will get much smarter, and where we will see huge growth are countries like India, that today said they are going in type of general insurance and that want to start good databases. And I think we will see huge growth from developing markets, because at the end of the day, these people gain wealth and they want to have treatment when they are sick, ill, or injured.
Okay. So you're the guys producing the tech, and then either you have a partner who does the AI, or you build your own AI, and so then the future for yourself should be safe.
Yeah. The big issue is how to get the money. When I was working in the UKE, we had one of the best mathematicians, even for AI programming, in the team, and it just didn't get used because the process on other sides were so slow, so he could play all the time computer games because he wasn't busy enough. And we had like this huge application for sports injuries, because you can detect changes in the movement by cheap sensors, and from the changes in movement you can calculate which injury they most likely have. So you can tell basically on field if somebody has most likely an injury and what injury it is. So especially if you are not pro athlete without medical team, if you play basketball or football out in the summer in a team, you know, I have to change because I've got this and this injury, and I have got to go tomorrow to the doctor. I should go to the hospital by now. But the grant, even though it has some major players of the German industry in it, didn't went through. So the project hasn't been gotten really started because the grant proposal got rejected. Because
you got delayed, yeah. Sounds really, I must say, Fabian, what you're telling and also seeing, listening to you and to your knowledge sounds really profound. I would love to continue this in a year, let's say, to see how things have been evolved, and also maybe you're then already in whatever, in USA or in, let's say, Hong Kong or Singapore. We will see. I would like to say a big thank you for the short insight in the medtech market and in these trends that are coming up now and evolving. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
And as you know, we have the tradition of recommendation of a book. So you can recommend your own book, or the book you read to your kids, or one of the favorite books you're reading right now, you would recommend to be read. So what's your recommendation?
Yeah, I haven't written a book yet. I'm not sure if I have a topic that would make it worth it reading. So I would
well, just write it. Just write a book about founding in comparison in different countries.
As soon as I worked out, it was worth reading it. I can just tell so far now what didn't work, which would be an interesting fuck-up read, but I don't think it's worth it to write it. Right now, maybe this gives me a hint. Maybe I should suggest Why Everything is So Fucked Up from Mark Manson, which is really good fit in the Corona times and a good explanation by a great author.
Okay, great. I put this in the description.
Yeah.
And also all your contact details on LinkedIn and also your website. And
yeah. I'm still on Sing also.
Great. Thanks a lot, Fabian. And
have a good day.
See you at least in a year or maybe earlier.
Yeah. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay, well, that has been kind of rich daily trend talk and rich conversation. What are your thoughts about this? What's happening in the medtech market? What's happening in general in the whole medical and healthcare market? Globally, there still is some pressure on producers, on brands, and also on hospitals and the whole structure and the system of healthcare due to COVID-19 infections and all the pandemic waves, but also because of the measurements the governments did. So what's the future in that market? What are your expectations for these markets, for this business? What will be the trends globally for the next years? Are you and your company yourself investing in medtech, or would you like to do so? And I think also what's very interesting is that globally there has been and there still is a huge competition between the nations on who gets that important startup company into their range, into their reach, and doesn't look that good for Germany, as it sounded what he reported. Of course, we also have to regard that the situation now between China and USA and the situation in general for China now is, well, economically really might be advantages and might be they're quite big, they're growing. Also, the social media companies are growing. You see there have been some comparisons between USA social media giants and Chinese giants. But how stable are these situations? So the question, of course, is who would you like to get as an investor? The upcoming, furthermore, more and more growing giant, China, or the established nation of founding the Silicon Valley nation, so to say, just to simplify it a little bit. Or what are your thoughts? What are your expectations? Are you choosing China? Are you choosing Asia? Are you choosing Europe as an area for founding, for starting a company? Or are you using the USA? And again, what's the future of the healthcare market in that relation to it? So how big is the market for starters, for startups, and for the medtech industry? I'm very curious on your insights, your thoughts. Just get in contact, write to us, and let's discuss this. Of course, we have our own opinion, also our own research results. And my estimate is this is a growing market. I go totally fine with what Fabian said about integration of AI, tech, and more automatization. Definitely. But also I think that there is a big market and there are several shares to be made. We will follow up this also when I have a follow-up talk with Fabian, let's say in a year. So they founded in April 2019. Now we're having summer 2020. So I'm very curious how the world looks like in 2021, same time. But until then, there will be many, many more daily trend talks discussing these topics and other topics, other markets and businesses. So happy to see you very soon at the next daily trend talk. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and future always starts now with you, with me, with this, each and every first step you're taking.